And so for the last couple of weeks, we've been focusing on this. What? The key to a life of joy and fulfillment. Well, bottom line, it all comes down to fulfillment and joy in our life is to fulfill God's will. God's great hope is that we can fulfill as tribal messiahs, not just people who receive, but people who give. Tribal messiahs. So when we talk about this life of joy and fulfillment, we're talking about the whole purpose of our life, the original ideal that God had for us. This is from Father Moon, emphasizing joy is the purpose of our life. Father Moon says, God created the universe to feel joy through human beings and the creation becoming one, and thus establishing a harmonious world of love. So, human beings and creation, creating this world of love and harmony. The perfection of the universe must bring joy to the internal you, that's our inside, but also as well as to the external world. Both your mind and your body must rejoice in a place of happiness. This is God's vision for each one of us, God's hope for each of us. So over the last weeks we've been discussing these keys, right? Remember the first week we looked at ownership and being responsible. People can take responsibility. To find real joy and fulfillment in our life is when we own something and we're responsible for it. And then we looked at love, because of course love is the motivation for everything. Love is the reason God created, and where we find greatest fulfillment and happiness and joy in our life is through love and loving relationships. And then we looked at service, acts of generosity, how we can feel joy through relationships of serving and doing things for the benefit of others, making a positive difference in the world around us. And last year we looked at perseverance. And sometimes to accomplish those things that are going to give us the greatest joy, we need to persevere. We need to face hardships and overcome them. All these qualities, the ownership, right? We need to become owners of Chonoguk. We need people who have God's love, true love. We have to be people who serve and live for the benefit of others. We have to persevere. All these are qualities of messiahs, tribal messiahs. Right? These are our qualities. Well, this week we're adding to that vision. We need to be people of vision in order to fulfill our role as tribal messiahs, but also to find joy and fulfillment in our life. So let's look at that. Here's some definitions of vision. Of course, there's lots of different definitions, but the way we're looking at it is the purpose. So here it reads, a thought, vision is a thought, concept, or object formed by the imagination, a manifestation of the senses of something immaterial, something that doesn't exist. So it's the power to create something in our mind, in our imagination, that doesn't yet exist. Well, getting more specific, when we talk about the vision that we need to have to find a life of fulfillment and joy, it's a detailed description of the future that I want. And that's something that we create out of our imagination. It doesn't yet exist, but something that we hold in our vision, something that we've created. Now, when we talk about vision, almost always we talk about other aspects. To accomplish the vision, you need a mission. You have a mission that you're going forward. Mission is basically how I'm going to get there. And along with having a vision and a mission, you need goals, right? Because goals are the specific measurable steps that's going to get us to accomplish that mission. So, what's the big vision? The big vision is the kingdom of heaven on earth, right? So as tribal messiahs, that's our vision, is God's heavenly kingdom. What's our mission? Is to build that heavenly kingdom, right? So building is the mission. And then the goals along the way, well, one is to create a heavenly family, in our family, to witness, to share the truth with others, to be people who teach, to serve. So all these things fall under goals. Mission and goals are something we could spend a lot of time talking about, but today I'm just going to focus on vision. Because vision is the starting point for power in our life. The divine principle, the way it's laid out, is quite interesting. The very first chapter, the beginning of the divine principle, it's a huge vision statement. It's a huge, powerful description of what the ideal world would look like. Understanding God's purpose. And we know the bottom line, if you synthesize it all down, there's lots of content, a lot of rich content. I encourage you to come join us on Saturday morning so we can really explore in depth where we have great discussions exploring the divine principle. But the three great purposes is what it all boils down to. Be fruitful, multiply, and have dominion. Here's how the divine principle describes it. The three great blessings: to be fruitful, which means to mature and ready to bear fruit. To multiply and have dominion over the creation. It further describes that the three great blessings are fulfilled when the whole creation, including human beings, completes the four-position foundation with God at the center. So what does four-position foundation mean? Again, please come. Join us on Saturday mornings and we'll talk about it. We'll explain it. But simply put, this is our diagram, our vision, a simplified vision of the ideal world. First purpose, to become a mature individual, a person of true love. And the 4 points in that diamond there, God is always at the center, at the top. God, our mind and body, and then ourselves united as a true human being. United in mind and body. There's your four-position foundation, that four-position diagram. So the first purpose is to become that person of true love. And the second four-position foundation, God at the center, right? Then husband and wife and children make the other 4 points. This is the family, and that expands out from the family to the society, to the nation, to the whole world. The people who know God's love and express God's love. And then the third great blessing is our dominion of love over all the things in the creation. Again, God is that first point of that the diamond, the top point of that four-position foundation. And then human beings and all created things, together we build the heavenly kingdom, God's ideal. This is a very fundamental, broad picture, vision for God's ideal, for our future. Now, for each one of us, this is going to be more specific. You know, I will have our own unique vision of this, but this applies to all of us. To become people of true love, to have families and relationships of true love, and to have a true loving relationship with all things in creation. That's the vision of the world God wants to see, and that's the vision of the world that we can find the greatest fulfillment and happiness in. The principle goes on to say, if Adam and Eve had obeyed this divine mandate and built the kingdom of heaven, there's no doubt that God would have felt the greatest joy as his sons and daughters rejoiced in the world of his ideal. This is God's hope, for us to be rejoicing, celebrating in the world of God's ideal. This is the kingdom of heaven, where ultimate goodness is realized, and God feels the greatest joy. This is, in fact, the very purpose for which God created the universe. It's for joy. So, what's the purpose of life?
Joy.
Oh, good. Again, what's the purpose of life? Joy. Great. How are we going to get there? True love. And true love. So today we're going to talk about true love as a vision. So remember that purposes. True loving individuals, true loving families, relationships, society, nation, ultimately a world of people relating in a loving way, true loving way, and true loving dominion over all the things of creation. So, how important is it to have a vision? You know, what's the importance of seeing that big picture? Well, in the Bible, the book of Proverbs, it makes it pretty clear. Where there's no vision, the people perish. It's the end. If you don't have a vision, there's no hope. The people will perish. Actually, another philosopher, some of you may remember Yogi Berra. He's a famous catcher for the New York Yankees baseball team. He's famous for such expressions like baseball. You know, he's a baseball guy. So all you baseball fans, he says, baseball is 90% mental, and the other 50% is physical. So he makes up these, and also, if you ever heard the word, it ain't over till it's over, that comes from Yogi Berra. Right? So here's what he says. He says, if you don't know where you're going, you probably aren't going to get there. See, he's famous for these kinds of expressions. But the truth is, if we don't have a vision, if we don't know where we're going, then it's true. How are we going to get there? We don't even know where we're going. So, vision, having a vision, a picture, a goal of a vision for the future, it helps guide our decisions that we make in our life. Even practically speaking, if you think, any choice or decision I make, is it moving me towards the vision that I have of who I want to be, of what I want to accomplish, of the way I want the world to be? A lot of times we get, remember when we were talking about finances and how easy it is for the marketers to get our attention with these bright, shiny things? Oh, come buy this. You really need a new can opener that barks like a dog when you open the can, right? So if we have a clear vision for our life, what's the purpose, what I really want to accomplish, then we'd look, okay, does buying the barking dog can opener help me fulfill that vision for my life? Maybe, but I suspect not. If we have a vision of where we want to go, then it gives us a stick that we can use to measure. Is this an action I want to take? Is this a choice I want to make? Is this a goal, a direction that I want to go? In addition to helping us guide our decisions and make decisions, without having a vision, a big picture, making goals ends up being kind of frustrating. There's generally energy made if I set a goal and I accomplish it. Oh, good, feels good. I make a goal and I accomplish it. It feels good. But if you keep doing that in your life and those goals are not connected to a big picture, kind of your life just about goals, made a goal, made a goal, and there's no sense of fulfillment that comes and genuine joy. There's short-term satisfaction, and I'm a big fan of setting goals and making them. But the powerful goals are ones that are connected to a vision, to a bigger picture of the future that we want to see, that we want to accomplish. Also, vision connects us to a higher purpose. The divine principle talks over and over about the importance to connect everything we do to a higher purpose, to God's purpose ultimately. God's purpose for our life is to feel experiencing joy through relationships with others, through making a difference in the world around us, for being a blessing. So if everything we do connects with a higher vision, some higher purpose, then the joy and fulfillment that we experience in our life, much broader, much bigger. Also, when we have a vision, we have power. Remember last week when I talked about perseverance, that vision is one of those key ingredients to give us strength and to persevere. Remember the story about the swimmer, the long-distance swimmer swimming from Catalina Island to the California coast? Swam, first time she did it, she swam for 15 hours in the fog, couldn't see anything, but she swam 15 hours. Boy, that's even hard for me to imagine, right? That's a good story. You remember the story from last week. Well, the first time she did it, she gave up about a half mile from the shore. And when they talked to her, they said it was because I couldn't see the shore, because she didn't have any vision. She did a repeat. She did it again. And that time, she put in her mind a clear vision of the shore, of the goal, where she was heading. And then, actually, she broke the record by 2 hours of the fastest person swimming that distance, because she put clear in her mind a vision of her goal, of where she was going. In our lives, when we have a clear, vibrant vision for our future, it gives us power. It gives us energy, as well as hope and determination. Keeps us on course. Well, here's a good example to illustrate the importance of vision. So there's a guy working on, and he sees some workers working. They're all bricklayers. They're working on their bricks. And so we have 3 guys. They're all identical people. They're laying bricks. So he goes up and asks the first person. He says, "So, what you doing?" He says, "Can't you see what I'm doing?" Really kind of sarcastic. "I'm laying bricks." So what he's doing is basically he's taking his mortar and putting a brick. That's what he's doing. He's laying bricks. He's a bricklayer. That's what I'm doing. Can't you see it? Well, okay. goes and asks the second guy, says, so what's going on? He says, well, can't you look and see? What I'm doing is I'm building a wall. I'm building a wall. So he has a bigger vision, right? So he knows what he's doing. He's building a wall. He asks the third guy, he says, well, what's going on here? He says, I'm building an amazing cathedral for God, and that people can come and worship and experience an amazing environment of worship. So, of those people, who do you think has the most energy? Who do you want working for you? Who do you think is going to do the best job? The different quality of people and investments. Who's going to invest their heart and spirit into accomplishing that? The person who has a great vision that's connected to something much higher and larger than himself. So in our lives, vision is so important. So, here's what Father Moon would say. He says, everyone without exception needs a purposeful life, full of hopes for such a nation and a righteous goal. Here he's talking about building the heavenly kingdom. In their hearts, they need to envision utopia. That's our vision, the vision of the ideal world, and strive to live for their nation and the ultimate goal. We need to envision that future, that utopia, that ideal. And you let that be the thing that draws us forward into the future and gives us power. So, how do we cultivate vision? At the very beginning place. Maybe I have a vision. Yeah, I have a vision of lunch. I'm thinking about lunch. And, when's he going to stop talking? Because I'm thinking about lunch, right? I have a vision for lunch. Well, let's have a bigger vision, right? Let's cultivate bigger visions. The starting place is identifying the passions that we have in our life. The things that are exciting, important, the things that give us energy in our life. Our unique talents and abilities. And we take those passions, identify those things that I like, that I'm good at. It's our gifts and talents and skills and abilities and things that we enjoy. And then we look at what are the needs in the world and what are the things in the world that I want to make a difference in. How do I want to make a contribution to the world? Again, the greatest fulfillment that we're going to have in life is when we connect to a higher purpose. We'll feel the greatest joy and fulfillment when our actions are making a difference at a bigger scale, the whole purpose. A certain amount of joy from getting ready for lunch, but how much more that bricklayer is getting thinking about his vision of the church that he's going to build, or even in our work. So identifying the needs of the world and thinking, how can I make a difference using my own gifts, my own talents, the things that I'm good at, and the things that I enjoy doing. How can I make a difference there? Now, I encourage you to do this exercise. Make a list. What are the things that I'm passionate about? Do I enjoy doing? What are the things that I'm good at? And how can I use those to make a difference, a positive difference in the world, to benefit others, the larger world? Now also, when you do this exercise, it's good to think of things in terms of the three great purposes, right? Thinking about my purpose in life. Number one is to become a true human being in my relationship with God. So cultivate, develop, and even write down a vision of my relationship with God. As I become a mature person, as I continue to grow and develop, what's the vision I have of a person who's one in heart and mind with God? Cultivate that vision. And then think about my family and my relationships with people. Cultivate the vision. What do I want to see? Maybe there's areas it's too easy for us to develop negative visions. We think about, all the bad things about me and all the bad problems in my family, problems I have in my relationships, the problems. Yeah, it's good to acknowledge those, but we want to generate a vision for the future, a positive vision that we want to grow towards, our hope for the future. So also thinking about our work, the things that we do at work. Develop a vision for our job. We could be a bricklayer who my job is I'm getting here to get a paycheck. I'm going to put one brick on top of the other. Now, how much joy do you think that bricklayer is having? Well, he gets a little bit of joy when he gets his paycheck, right? But other than that, it's like a life of drudgery. How about that guy who knows he's building a church, amazing temple for God? Well, he's grateful to get the paycheck because we need that paycheck. But while he's working, he's experiencing joy and fulfillment, knowing that he's contributing to something much larger than himself. So if we take even our work situation, my job and what I'm doing, and we transform that into my vision for what the difference that my work does. And if you can't see a vision for the value that your work has in making the world a better place, you might want to think about getting another job. If you don't see how your work can contribute to making the world a better place, then you should look for someplace where you feel you can make a contribution. Now, in addition to that, visualization is an exercise that all success motivation people will talk about. You need to visualize success, visualize your goal, but not just the kingdom of heaven, but the specifics. So we have a big vision. The three great purposes: to become a true love person, to have a true love family, to have a true love dominion over all the things in creation. Great. That's the big picture. But it needs to be detailed and related to us. So what's the detailed vision of myself? As my passion is music and dance. So how can my passion of music and dance make a difference in the world? And how do I visualize that? Okay, I want to make music and dance and movement that uplifts people, that makes people feel and experience God more vitally in their lives. That's the kind of vision I want to think towards. Well, when you have that kind of vision or thought around your passion, there's actually some energy there. This is, we can be the tribal messiah for dance and music. Or maybe it's for cooking. Or maybe it's for education, teaching. Who knows? Each one of us is unique. We have different talents and skills and abilities. But visualize the specific details. Some people make diagrams. If you're particularly a visual person, cut out pictures and put all pictures and put it up on your wall. If you surround your environment with pictures and images of where you want to be, your goals, then you're constantly reminding yourself of that. Maybe it's more writing it down and writing a whole story where you explain the details of what the future's like when I've accomplished that goal. In the present tense, I'm speaking to many people. I'm sharing music with many people. I'm helping people learn how to move and connect with God. And all kinds of things that you can get inspired by. And write it down in detail. How does it smell? The room filled with people who are dancing. Smells kind of sweaty, but it's a nice smell, right? I like that smell. or the music, the sounds of the music that's uplifting people and bringing people closer to God. Or the feeling of people moving in action. Get really detailed in exploring that vision. And it's not just one vision. It's vision for all different aspects of our lives. Then finally, we need to keep that vision alive. It means we need to interact with it. We need to think about it. Have give and take action. The Unification is a term for it. We need to interact with our vision so that it doesn't just become a concept. Oh yeah, that's my vision over there. But it becomes part of our daily lives. The truth is, just going through the exercise of creating a vision for yourself, writing it down and putting it down on paper, it already gets us started in the right direction. And we start building a mission statement and goals around that. Even subconsciously, people will talk about, if you visualize that, even your subconscious mind will be stimulated and guided. So even without planning, you'll do things. How much more power if we spend time in our daily prayer, talking to God about our vision. Heavenly Parent, this is my vision. This is my hope. Help me see how to accomplish that. Help shape that. Help me understand my vision more deeply. Help me connect more powerfully to it. God is our partner. God wants to be a partner with us in all these things, in all these aspects of our lives. God's so excited when we get a hold of our vision. God says, yeah, oh man, I'm so glad you're finally thinking about this. All your life I've been waiting for the time when you get the vision, even a taste of the vision I have for you, for what your life can be like. God's going to start getting really excited when you have conversations and interact with God around your vision for your life, for your work, for your family, for your relationships, for our relationship with God, all these different things. God has so much hope for us in expectation. So, before I end, I want to do just a quick exercise. Actually, it's a little bit off topic, but it's fun. Reverend Thompson did this exercise. He saw it with it came from TED Talks, and last Wednesday he said all of us. It's 5 minutes to finding your life purpose, or defining, or being able to describe your life purpose. Okay, so we'll just do this real quick. I've got 5 minutes. So the first thing is, who are you? What's your name? So this is what we're doing here. Is we're kind of getting up like an elevator talk. When you meet new people, usually how's the conversation go? It says, oh, hi, who are you? What's your name? What do you do? Oh, I do this. I work in the consulting firm. So that's how the conversations go. But if we can share our vision and our purpose and our mission, what kind of a different conversation is possible when we meet new people? So, what I'm going to do is, at the count of 3, I'm going to ask all of you to shout out loud your first name. Okay? So, who are you? 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
All right, good. Okay, the second step. Okay, I need to think in terms of what do you do. Now, this could be your work. Maybe you sell things. Maybe you're a server. Maybe you're a teacher. Maybe in your family you take care of your family. Maybe you who knows? But it's any aspect of your life. It could be your work life, your personal life, your spiritual life. So just choose one thing, and I want you to again shout it out on the count of 3. Okay? So what is it that you do? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, great. All right, this is getting exciting. So now think about who is it that you do that for. If you work in a store, it's probably for the customers. For your family, it's your family members. It's for other people. It's for students, clients. Whoever. So think, who is it that you see it for? On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. All right. Okay. This is getting even more exciting. And now we're getting to the juicy stuff, okay? Let's get to where it's really tasty. So think about those people that you're doing this for. What is it that they want? What is it they want and need? Like the students, they want education. They want to get good A on their score. They want to pass. They want to do well. Customers, maybe they want to get the right product. Or if you're serving, maybe they want to get the right food. Or what is it that they want? So think in terms, just a couple of words, what is it that these people that you're doing stuff for, what is it that they want? Maybe if you're a performer, they want to be entertained, or they want to be uplifted. Who knows what it is, okay? So on the count of 3, just a couple of words, what do they want or need? 1, 2, 3. Oh, good. Okay, finally, let's wrap it all up. So this is where the important power is recognizing how does what you do, what each one of us does, how do those people change, or how do they benefit, or how are they transformed as the result of what you do? This is really our purpose. Our vision is being people who make a difference in the world. So what we do in our life is we want to make a difference in the world. So for a lot of us, it's our family. If you don't have a job or something, it's our family or our relationships. Maybe it's our neighbors that we're making a difference with. Family members, neighbors, clients, who knows what. But think, those people how does what you do help them, make them grow, help them to change, and how do they benefit? Okay, so just in a couple of words, think about that, okay? 1, 2, 3. Now, that's a little bit harder, isn't it? That one you maybe need to take a little bit more time to think about. But our purpose in life is to make a positive difference in the world. So if I think about, so my day job, I work building databases. So who are you? My name's Charles. What do? I build databases. Who do you do it for? For service organizations. What do they want or need? What do they want or need? Now that I need to think a little bit more about. These social service organizations, what do they want or need? They need good information so that they can manage their programs well and they can take good care of their clients, right? So what do they want or need? They need good information so that they can do their job better. So what do? I provide people with information, a way of organizing their information so that they can make decisions and plans that can better benefit and serve their clients. So when someone says, oh, hi, who are you? What do you do? I can say, oh, I help people and social service organizations figure out the meaning of what they're doing. You do? Now, is that going to start a new conversation or is that the end of the conversation? You just say, oh, I build databases. Oh, nice. But instead of saying I build databases, I help people, particularly in social service organizations, to organize their information so they can make good decisions and good plans. Wow. Sounds a lot better, doesn't it? Yeah. And actually, if you think about any aspect of your life, I try to make a difference with my neighbors. The people in my neighborhood. What do I do? I try to help my neighbors so that they feel happy and fulfilled in their life. So they feel comfortable because of their relationship with the people around them. In my family, what do I do? So all of these different areas, if we think about that, we do amazing things with our lives. And we give ourselves like a short shrift. We don't really recognize the amazing people that we are and the amazing difference we make in the world around us. So writing this down, getting concrete about this, is important for us to understand deeply who we really are and where true joy and true fulfillment is going to come from in our lives. So let's cultivate that vision, right? Let's be people of vision who can see the future, plan for the future, and live towards that goal. Here's some final words from Father Moon. Father Moon says, then, what would be a true man and true woman's vision for daily life? It is to live meaningfully for the sake of the world. Their loving each other is for the sake of the world. And having sons and daughters is to provide the motivation for loving the world more. All of our vision, all of our goals, everything we're connected to is connected to God, expressing God's love to the world. Please join me in prayer. Father, Mother God, thank you so much for your presence in our lives and the vision that we've come to understand because of the divine principle, because of our true parents, because of your revelation in our lives. Heavenly Parent, we want to connect deeply with that vision that you have, the great hope and aspirations you have for each one of us, our unique, amazing potential. Heavenly Parent, help us see that potential and zone in on that, focus on that. So this morning, even as we reflect on the words here and the ideas about developing our mission, we ask, Heavenly Parent, for your inspiration, for your heart and your love to be part of all of our thoughts, all of our decisions, and all of the direction that we develop. Heavenly Parent, help us to cultivate that heart of true love that expands beyond ourselves to include the entire world. Heavenly Parent, we so much want to be the people that bring your love to the world. Thank you for trusting us, and we determine to accomplish. So as your sons and daughters and as blessed central families, we offer up ourselves again end this prayer to you. Amen and adieu. Okay, follow Messiah. Good God bless you all.